What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Rod Studio and Gatica Tattoo Studio. Today we have another special guest. Today we have Miss, let me know if I say it wrong, Donia? Donia.
Or Donia.
Donia.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. How are you feeling today?
Excellent, excellent.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a first generation Egyptian. Well, my mom was Egyptian. My dad was American. We are a military family. My dad was in the Army. He retired in the Army. My sister was in the Army and Navy. My brother-in-law, my brother, we traveled all over the world and lived mostly in the Middle East. And then we settled back here in North Carolina. I am a single mom of 2 kids, and I own INV Lash and Brows.
Okay.
That I've been doing for 13 years now.
Nice. Nice. And that's here in Fayetteville?
Well, it's Rayford, technically Rockfish, but basically Fayetteville, yes.
Got you. How did you get into that career?
I was in the business sector doing I was a mortgage consultant for 30 years, and I'd always wanted to do hair and get into the beauty industry, and so I went to cosmetology school in my 40s.
Okay.
And I was in 3 car accidents so I was doing hair and I was in 3 car accidents back to back. I was rear-ended, and so from prior injuries from an accident 30 some years ago, it made it impossible for me to stand or sit down for long periods of time. So being a single mom and not getting any income in, I had to resort to, looking for ways to lift myself up and provide for my family. So I'd always wanted to do lash extensions, but I was spending a lot of time researching for a reputable company to go with.
Right. Okay.
And so I just had to do it. And I was hitting rock bottom. Thankfully, my landlord and his wife allowed me to use my rent money for a couple months because the lash courses back then were very expensive, from a reputable lash trainer. And so I just faked it till I made it. I was booked up in 3 months of starting, and it just skyrocketed from there.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you miss Egypt?
I've only been to Egypt once.
Once, okay.
Yes, I do miss it. I miss. We come from an ancient people. Not just Egyptians. We're Coptic Egyptian.
Okay.
Or my mom was Coptic Egyptian, which are said to be the indigenous people of Egypt. So they trace our origins back over 35,000 years based on human remains that they found in Egypt. Egypt is one of the most studied countries in the world. So they do a lot of DNA testing and with the local people to track migration and things like that, of that nature. So I'm starting to, I have been for the last few years, doing more research on my people, because a lot of the foods we eat date back to the pharaohs that we still eat. And so I'm trying to get more in touch with my mom's roots. When I went, back then it was like we didn't have grocery stores, and it's a place called Benha. There were no grocery stores, no cars. People traveled by donkey or walked. My grandmother's sisters all lived within walking distance. Her uncle did live in Cairo, the capital. So no running water, no toilets, they had to go to a well to get water, so it was very fascinating.
Okay. I was watching, I want to say a TikTok, where it showed basically the whole Egypt, and they were talking about how 95% of the population live in one small region where it surrounds the river.
The Nile River, yes.
Okay, and they said the rest of the country is basically just what's the word I'm looking for?
Uninhabited?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Well, it's mostly desert because to the south you have the Sahara Desert. To the south of Sudan you have the Sahara Desert. So they say that the population in Egypt hasn't changed. It's only changed in DNA by 8% from the pharaohs, from the ancient Egyptians.
Okay.
You know, so it's rich in history. I mean, once you dig into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to get back to the roots of my mom.
Gotcha.
You know, being now Coptic is we're only 10% of the population now because we were heavily persecuted because we're Christian. You know, by we were conquered by the Ottoman Empire, the Arabs, the Persians. So now it's mainly a Muslim. I mean, the majority of the people are Muslim there now.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, that's one of the places I would love to visit as soon as I can get my residency and travel.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've made so many changes in Egypt now. It's become a lot more modernized, especially towards Alexandria, where you have the Hellenistic. They call them Hellenistic Egyptians because they took a lot from the Greeks when the Greeks conquered in Alexandria. So they were, and then we had 400 year plus rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which were Greeks or Macedonian. So they call those Egyptians in Alexandria Hellenistic Egyptians because there's a heavily Greek influence there. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and they're discovering. They have so many discoveries now. They found another a tomb with a pharaoh, and then they think they found the statue of Alexander the Great, who conquered Egypt. Starting the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty there.
It's nice. Are there do you think there's a lot of Egyptian people in Fayetteville or Rayford?
Yes, I do. I do. There's and I didn't realize it until recently that there was a Coptic church on Rayford Road. I had gone into it's a place called George's, and I thought it was a Greek place because they advertise gyros, but we call them in the Middle East we call them shawarmas, not gyros. I mean they're made a little bit different. And he was Coptic, and he told me that they do have a Coptic church now, which I'm proud of.
Nice.
Okay.
We're the
Can't
first.
believe it, bro.
Yeah, we're the
Yeah, I
first. They said we're the first Christians, from I think it was Saint Mark, who used to come. I have to check back on my history. Who traveled through Egypt and North Africa, and they Ethiopians, the Sudanese, Moroccans. There's a lot of Coptic influence still there, but we're still only 10% of the population now in North Africa, so that's sad.
Crazy. Yeah.
Hopefully we have a bigger community here in the States now. I know a lot of my relatives have moved. I have relatives in Australia, relatives up north in New Jersey area.
Nice.
And how hard? Because you say that basically everything's ran by a Muslim. What is it called?
A Muslim government. Yes.
So is there people fleeing? Like, how does that work?
Are there people? Excuse me.
Fleeing, like, are they leaving the country? Or?
Most of them live in the countries. They don't really advertise their Christianity. Like, I don't know about now. It's been a long time since I've been there. I know when I visited, 20 some years ago when I was a teenager, they would hide that they were Christians to avoid being persecuted. And I'm going to Egypt next year on a trip, a 14-day trip, and I'm going to get a tattoo of a cross put on. They tap the tattoos, the Coptic Egyptians tap. My mom had one and my grandmother had one.
Okay.
So I'm going to get that done there. You can have it done here, they said, but I want to get it done in Egypt.
Full
It means
experience. Full
it means
experience.
more.
Yeah.
But we're still persecuted. The majority of the people there, they live peacefully. But you do have radicals, just like you do, with any other faith. That there's a lot of. My uncle had sent me before he went missing. Had sent me videos and newspaper articles of churches being bombed and trains with Coptics and being bombed, and young girls, from 6-year-old on up getting kidnapped, and they get, assaulted, and then they're told to convert, or they'd get executed. So that still happens, so.
Gotcha. If
I didn't know how controversial you wanted to
no,
get.
no, no,
It's okay.
hey, we went off. Let's say Miguel and I decided to travel to Egypt. What places would you recommend?
Of course, you have to go to the tourist traps, the pyramids, the Sphinx, the Valley of the Kings. You have to visit Alexandria, and then they just opened up the Great Museum I think it's Great Museum of Egypt, either that, it's the Great Museum of Cairo. It just opened, and it's supposed to be like the biggest museum with artifacts, in history in Cairo. The problem with, before is the English took a lot of artifacts. The Romans were obsessed with, when they conquered Egypt, they were obsessed with Egypt. So there's a lot of, when you travel around, when I went to Italy, I saw so many Egyptian artifacts, and they have Egyptian museums, and which is odd, because those need to go back to Egypt, so, and then they have, in England, like the museum is filled with, all over the world, there's Egyptian artifacts,
Right.
that were stolen from Egypt. So it's, good to see that there's a place in Egypt that you can go now, to visit those places. That explains the history. So I would visit there. I would visit not so common areas, like go to the little villages if you can, if you're a tourist. It's always advisable to take a tourist
Yeah.
person with you,
Right.
tourist guide with you, because they treat tourists really well there, because that's a lot of their economy comes from tourism. So ask to go see, go to the mom and pop, shops to eat kushari, which is, the national dish of Egypt, and things like that.
Okay. I'm just scared to try like real authentic stuff, like food from different countries.
It's
Because I really don't know. Because I
It's-
could be eating a camel's eye, and I'm like, bro,
oh no, we don't eat
Yeah.
camel. A lot of the stuff that you eat, it's like Greek food. Its influence come from the Middle East.
Okay.
During the Ottoman Empire, because they conquered and invaded a lot of European countries, a lot of Asian countries. Greece was under Ottoman rule for hundreds of years. A lot of the food they eat stems from the Middle East. So, and then a lot of, I don't know where you're from, but Latin foods also, are similar to, Arabic food or Egyptian food.
Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah, so just same ingredients, just made a little bit different. And a lot of it is rice based too, everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just a little traumatized. I've told you the show that my wife be watching, the one with the white guy. He has a red bandana and just goes to different countries.
Oh yeah, I watch him too.
Yeah. I think I'm a little traumatized because of that. So I'm like, okay, what is in here?
So a lot of those places, like Saudi Arabia, we lived there for several years. The Bedouins, which is another, nomadic people, they eat, you have to eat what your country provides. So they eat like the camels. Like we went to some things. They have these giant feasts, and then they have a camel with a sheep inside, with a chicken inside or a duck inside. So they do have those, but Egyptians, they don't eat that.
Okay.
We have the kushari, which is a rice and lentil with tomato sauce and macaroni, and then
Okay.
yeah, it's very.
Is there a restaurant here that you would recommend?
I love Pharaoh's Village. I love Pharaoh's Legacy. I love. There's another one on Skybo Road. It starts with a N. What's it?
Skybo.
Yeah,
not Olay, is it?
next to Mikoto's Japanese steakhouse. Neo? Is it Neo? No.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I know.
Olea.
Olea.
Yeah, they're really
Okay.
good. Another really good place is Habibi on Bragg Boulevard. I go to all of them.
I haven't heard of a BB.
Habibi is fairly new. They're on Bragg
Okay.
Boulevard. They're really good. They're not Egyptian. Pharaoh's Village, Pharaoh's Legacy, and then there's a new Pharaoh's Village in Cameron that they just opened up. They took over Twisted Grape.
Okay.
They're Egyptian. And then they are Egyptian, so they cook the Pharaoh's village now was taken over by another. I don't know what their ethnicity is, but I think the owner of Pharaoh's village also, they still kept some of the same foods.
Okay.
So, but they tend to stick to like the Americanized version, not the Americanized version, but to what people know, like shawarmas and kebab and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
What dish would you recommend if we go?
I go to Pharaoh's Village on Hope Mills Road, and I get the kushari. I always get the kushari.
Okay.
That you would love.
Okay.
And then I get kibbe, which is it's made with cracked wheat on the outside, and then they fry it on the inside as ground beef and pine nuts and onions, and that's really good. We call it wara inab. The Greeks call it dolmades. The way my mom makes it is with meat. We make it with meat, but other places make it with no meat. And it has rice, and I just ask them to put it on the grill to heat it up because a lot of places serve it cold. The Greeks serve it cold. We serve it warm, but we add meat to it. The Egyptians add meat to it.
Okay.
It's stuffed grape leaves.
Okay.
So it's wara inab is what it is in Arabic, but they put it as grape leaves. Falafel, of course. Everybody knows falafel. Falafel is really good. And then the gyros or shawarma, we call them shawarma.
Okay. I'm probably gonna forget most of what you said at the beginning.
We'll go
Just
back
try-
to the video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Watch
just
the video
try.
again.
I mean, try anything. It's nothing. They don't eat camel. They don't eat anything. I think Habibi serves lamb because a lot of people like lamb. I don't eat lamb, but a lot of people eat lamb. I'm trying to think if there's any other places. There's Tangine. And this is a funny story. I went to Tangine a few days ago. That's a new restaurant on Rayford Road. And they have gelato and pastries and things like that. But the gentleman that was working there, he is actually from Benha, which is unheard of because Benha is just a very rural city in Egypt, like out, very country.
Okay.
Put it this way, I drank tea made from Nile water on a campfire country, that's the type of,
Gotcha.
and he was from Benha, so he works there, and so it was odd. So they have some, Middle Eastern dishes that are really good. Each region makes their food a little bit different. They have their own specialties. So everybody knows hummus and, dishes like that.
Okay. And you said he's on Rayford?
It's on Rayford
Rayford
Road,
Road?
yeah, right
Okay.
as you get into Rayford. Yeah, there's a Arowana seafood place, seafood and ramen place in the same area.
Okay, we actually live by the Arowana.
Arowana, I think is what it's called, yeah.
Yes, we live by that area.
Yeah, it's in that same shopping center. It's
Really?
called Tangine. Yeah, it's beautiful inside. I love how they have it set up. But the food is really good.
Okay.
I recommend them. I call it macaroni bechamel. So
Okay.
it's kind of an Arabic, an Egyptian lasagna or mac and cheese. Yeah, but it's made with bechamel sauce as well. It's really good.
Okay,
That's
I'll try it
that's
out.
my favorite.
Okay, we got
And then the
that right now.
kibbeh. They have kibbeh there too.
Okay. I'm just be like, okay. Let me get what you got.
And then like the shish kebabs, that's all of that originated in Turkey actually. So that's why a lot of
Okay.
people, from the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the food they eat, because the Ottoman Empire, they invaded everything in their heyday. So.
Yeah. Like, I was watching it was a documentary about chickens. And they were talking about how chickens are, what is it called, originally from, or domesticated chickens are originally from, what is this place? About Australia, those little islands. Samoan. Like,
Oh,
the
I didn't know
little
that.
area, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
The chicken?
Hmm. Yeah, because we had them, but they were not, what is it called, they were not domesticated, something like that. And
I
they
can't
didn't
remember.
eat-
I remember reading something about chickens and where they they were originally wild
Yeah.
chickens. Same with sheep,
Yeah.
but we raised them, like for sheep, we raised them to create more wool. And so that's why they have to be sheared. Wild sheep don't have to be sheared.
Oh wow. Yeah, like because it was a documentary on Samoans and how South America had a lot of chickens and they resemble a lot of things and they're very completely different part of the what's it called
World, yeah.
Yeah.
The Latin area, they have a lot of the same foods as like other countries around, and they have a lot of ancient foods as well. Like tomatoes and tomato-based dishes and things like that. So a lot of people don't understand that how the world works as far as
Yeah, we should
how
fix a food channel, bro.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, we love eating. Oh, I love eating.
I love eating too.
same.
I mean, my mom had a restaurant for years, so
Really?
she did it was a German restaurant, but
Okay.
only because, and this is a harsh story, she was married off at 11 years old, because that was the custom in Egypt, to a German, and she went back to Germany and had 2 kids, and he didn't treat her good, so she was rescued by, he beat her, so she was rescued by Germans, and then years later she met my dad, who was in the military station there.
Okay.
So she was a master chef. She went to school to be a master chef in Germany. She went to the University of Heidelberg and the University of Munich. And she, when we came in the States during, right before we went to war with Iran, what was that?
Yeah, I
I don't know.
They sent troops to Iran, and then Fayetteville was completely empty. I mean, we had the restaurant prior to that, so that's when
It's
we
like
had
a
to
ghost town
close.
here.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was a ghost town here.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I was like,
that.
I was probably like
You guys
3,
were
yeah, like 3
Little
or 4.
babies.
Like,
I
Yeah.
want to say like 2003ish.
Desert Storm.
so 3 was a storm.
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm.
Yeah. But we had a
Desert
restaurant, a German restaurant, and she'd have Arabic, she'd have kushri and things like that, because
Okay.
we had people that would request that. Like a lot of vegetarians love that dish because there's no
Okay.
meat in it. So
Yeah, I would love to experience that restaurant.
I miss it. I miss it.
Yeah.
I did a lot of cooking and a lot of firing. Every day my mom would fire me.
Yeah.
She'd yell at me, "You're fired."
Yeah, my mom. I grew up in the restaurant business. Also, my mom had a restaurant and a couple food trucks. But yeah, I remember.
It's a lot of work. People don't
Yeah.
realize the hard work that's put into.
Yeah.
That's why I like to frequent. I prefer local owned restaurants, and I go to the same ones all the time because I just prefer local owned.
Yeah, but it's also like different meals. Like you get experience like that authenticness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's hard. Like once I experienced my mom's restaurant, it was hard going to another Mexican restaurant because
You're
like-
used to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very critical about Arabic
Yeah.
food and even German food because my mom, it was a German restaurant, so she taught me to cook her way, and so she's heavy on the spices and things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I did some funny stuff in that restaurant that I've never owned up to it. It was because at this point I had to be like 13, 14, and the only time I actually got to what it's called has quality time with my mom was I actually had to go to a restaurant, right? And I remember I was like just looking at this one little ring thing that was attached to an extinguisher pipe thing. I don't know what they're called. And I was just like flicking it, and I was like, so my intrusive thought just beat me, and I just like pulled it, and I just saw like all the it's not smoke, it's like sand, dust, whatever to what it's called, to get rid of the fires. And I just took off running, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
How old were you?
I had to be like 14, 15 maybe, and I just took
Wow.
off running, right? Because there was a door right there, and then I came around the other side. I was like, "Mom, what happened?" She was like, "I don't know," but it was like all these yellow powder, right? Powder, that's what it was. And it was like all over the stove, the dishes, everything. I was like, "I'll help you clean them up." Yeah.
Did you ever tell her?
No.
You never owned up to
No,
it?
I never told her about that. Yeah, because I put the ring back.
That sounds like my sister. Come on now.
So good thing she don't speak English, so she can't. I can't know. You guys can't see her this, but yeah, I do that.
What are your So going back to your business,
Mhm.
what are your future goals for it?
I would like to get more into, I did a little bit of speaking. I do a lot of conferences. I go to a lot of conferences and I do competitions. So I'm a
Okay.
global award-winning lash artist with internationally multi-certified. So I take pride in the education. I guess that comes from my dad's side. My dad he took every course that he could through the military. His whole room was nothing but certification. So
Nice.
I love the education aspects for it. I want to bring better education about the lash industry, the brow industry, to light. We're not a regulated industry, meaning the only requirements is an esthetician or cosmetology license. There's not any official lash training, and the lash training varies from, you could go to YouTube and as long as you have your esthetician or cosmetology license,
Yeah.
do lashes on someone. And so I'm also a certified trainer, so the training is also very lacking. You don't even have to do lashes to train somebody to do lashes. So I want to make it a little bit more, I think Texas is the only state now that there's 400 hours required in lash training to be a lash artist. I think other states are starting to adapt it too because you're working with people's eyes. So I want to see a better standard in education across the industry. But it's, I like working, I'm a perfectionist, so I like to, be the one doing all the work, so it's hard to pass that on to somebody else and then go to a different field, maybe speak a little bit more, at conferences. Conferences have, there used to be conferences all over the world, but since COVID, there's very few conferences. Now, a lot of them are online, which is not the same. I think the camaraderie around the industry, the lash artists, men and women, they are, it's nice, the networking is very nice. So maybe have a conference here on the East Coast. A lot of them are in, we have them in Texas, we have them in California, but not, Florida, there's a beauty, in Orlando, there's the beauty, it's everything, anything related to beauty conference there. Maybe someplace on the East Coast up here have a big conference for lash artists and brow artists. And
Okay. I didn't want to cut you off, but you said you need a cosmetology license.
cosmetology or esthetician license.
Okay, and how long do you go to school for that?
It's in North Carolina. It varies by state. It's 1,600 hours for
Okay.
cosmetology. I don't know for estheticians, a lot shorter class to be a lash to practice lashes on somebody.
Okay.
So-
yeah, because for us, we just have to have we're not regulated as at all, honestly.
No,
Like,
you
we-
need a
yeah.
tattoo license. That's it.
Yes, because all we need is a permit, right? And we
Yeah.
can just open up a building, make sure we follow the regulations. You don't have to know how to draw, no nothing, right? To get your permit, whatever.
It's same with microblading of
Yeah.
brows.
And
You only need to go to the city and get your license, and then you can.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of messed up brows in my time.
Oh, okay.
That you can't unless you have laser removal.
Yeah.
Or it fades out. You can't.
Yes, I've seen that too. But even like bloodborne pathogen.
Yes.
I did mine because I wanted to just make sure that I didn't get nobody infected with anything, right? But what is it called? They don't ask you for none of that here.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you would think.
but I would prefer to get my brows done, if I were to get my brows done, by a tattoo artist over a microblade artist.
Yeah.
Because they're more they're more artistic.
Mhm.
If you take a good microblading class, but microblading, I'm certified in microblading. I did take 2
Mhm.
classes on it, but I wouldn't recommend it only because it's not the same as a tattoo. So
Mhm.
it only lasts about 18 months to 2 years, and it starts to
Yes.
fade, and then it can damage your follicles. So tattoo artists, I always tell my clients to go to a tattoo artist that knows,
Mhm.
about tattooing, but it's
Yeah.
still a license. That's
Yes.
it. No training.
there was whenever I started tattooing, there was this one girl that I used to work with at Best Ink.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Savannah. She's here.
Savannah is excellent.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, okay, I see what she's doing. It looks pretty easy, right? So I opened this place. I was looking for a eyebrow person. I was like, yeah, it can't be that hard to find somebody like. But my set was already here, right? Because I had seen Savannah do eyebrows. So,
That's who I recommend all my clients to,
yeah,
Savannah.
And
Which is in unicorns, is her?
Yes.
Her, yes.
Yes. And then the front desk was like, yeah, I seen this people here in the surrounding areas, right? And I was like, what? Like, what is that? Like, that's I don't want to do that
Right.
to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some of them eyebrows. I was like, no.
Yeah, microblading does. She does tattooing.
Mhm.
She doesn't do microblading.
Yeah, I think she was trying to get most of her customers, and I may be wrong, to go with tattooing because I think at the time she was offering microblading.
Yeah,
But-
microblading is it's like 14, 15 needles,
Mhm.
and they
Yes.
scrape it across the skin in ink, and
Yeah.
and so that's why it can do damage to the follicles. So I
Yeah.
always suggest tattoo.
Yeah, I remember she was explaining that to us, like how tattooing, because everybody's scared of tattooing eyebrows on themselves, right? Because they're permanent.
Yeah.
But she was explaining the fact that microblading was actually damaging the
Skin,
on
yes, it leaves scarring on some people. And there, now don't get me wrong, there are some highly skilled microblade artists that are, and there's some in this town too that are good. But it can lead to scarring, and yeah. So, but I am surprised because you draw blood that it's not more regulated. Our industry is not regulated, and FDA doesn't get involved. They don't do anything in the beauty industry. So that's why a lot of people say, oh well, this is FDA approved adhesive. No, it's not. They don't care about cosmetic. It's cosmetic grade, not medical grade. So. When people throw that around in the beauty industry, I have to laugh because FDA doesn't involve themselves in anything in the beauty industry. They should certain states, some states have no rules. Like I think Georgia is one. You don't even need a cosmetology license or esthetician license to do lashes or brows. California, only medical professionals now can do, I think, tinting and things like that. So it varies by state.
Okay.
But I think some states are jumping on the bandwagon to make it more strict because with lash extension, you're working on people's eyes. The potential to damage somebody's eyes is there.
Yeah, and even us, like we're working with skin, like with blood, like going in people's skin in their body. Like I want more regulation.
Yes, I do too.
Yes.
I do too. It's just hard to, in an industry where there's very few people, regulators like the cosmetology board, they can't be everywhere to inspect everybody, and there's a lot of people that do stuff that they're not supposed to,
Yeah, but I feel like if they put regulations and he forces a lot of people to close, and I'm not saying this because I have my customers. I don't need any more customers. The public is going to be safer, and they would actually have less people to regulate.
Yeah, it puts a stigma, especially like lash artistry has a bad rep because of all the bad workout. Oh yeah, I mean there are memes out there with because people get these crazy lashes up to here that they can barely open their eyes. And I have a couple of eye doctor clients that tell me the stuff that they discuss at conferences about because it's starting to affect vision. You know how your mom used to tell you to move you guys, women always get it all the time, move your bangs out of your eyes, move your hair out of your eyes. It messes with your depth perception with having that's why you don't sit, well, I don't know.
My mom would tell my sisters that and
Yeah.
get their hair out of the way.
So and they see a lot of issues with people not having lashes anymore from bad work. Your lashes serve a purpose on your body, and it's to protect against the sun and protect against dirt and dust getting into the eye. So that's why everything we have on our bodies is for a reason. I mean, through evolution, we probably don't need it as much anymore. Like hair on our bodies and things like that was used to protect our bodies from the outside elements. But it'll eventually cause permanent damage when you don't do things the right way. But yeah, we have a bad stigma because of all the the non-regulation and the limited education and non-standard. It's not a standard across the board.
I'm learning a lot today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, guys do it the worst. They make fun of girls all the time about their lashes, but it's because they're getting, they see women that have these crazy lashes. Yeah. Lashes are used. I see it as a prescription. So like if someone has one eye that's lower than the other, I can make the lashes longer on one side to make it even. Or if somebody's eyes are closer together, I can make the lashes so it gives the appearance that it's like makeup. You fix certain flaws that you
I
have.
never thought about that. That's very interesting.
But they're supposed to be to flatter you and not to take away from your appearance.
One of the girls that used to work here, she did eyebrows. She was studying for that. I forgot what it's called, microblading. But she was teaching me how one eyebrow can be a little bit further up than the other one, so she has to like.
Our faces aren't symmetrical. We have a thing that we say that eyebrows are sisters, not twins. So, and even eyes, like everybody has a different set of number of lashes. You might grow more on this side than this side. So, it's more than just gluing on lashes. You have to, we have to map things out. We have to use the correct sizes and correct diameters and the correct length, and then eye shape, face shape.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, she was teaching me all that, and after I got a good comprehension, I started doing it. I could find a reference picture of a woman, and she might not have like the best eyelashes, and I could fix them. Or you couldn't see the eyelashes, but I could fix them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this come in handy. So, I'm gonna add the eyelashes. I said eyelashes, right? Eyebrows.
Eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna add the eyelashes to the list now. Make sure I study how they are actually supposed to look, or how to.
So you doing eyebrows now?
No.
Oh.
No, like I said, I would get a reference picture, and the reference picture either they didn't have nice eyebrows, or you could barely tell the hairs on the eyebrows. So she taught me like the patterns and all that.
Yeah, everybody's patterns are different. Like some people's brows grow, and there's so much things that you can do. Like I do lash perms. It's a keratin infusion lash perm, and it's the same like solution that they perm hair, but it's made for the brows or the lashes. I do lash perms too. But it fixes, like some people have hairs growing straight out, some people, and there's so many things you can do to fix those, or people that have hairs growing downwards, and it gives it a fuller effect if you perm it upwards so that it just shapes it better. Okay. So there's different things that people can opt for when they're doing, or just tinting, which just fills in, and gives it a more fuller appearance.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But yeah, our faces aren't symmetrical on both sides, so.
What's the hardest part of doing all that? Like, is it finding out like how you want to fit somebody up, or is it just the people dealing with people?
I have amazing clients. Doing this 13 years, I have. I don't want to say collected my clients that I've had for 13 years. I've had some people that I've got, have come to me for, continuous. I think the hardest part is, I find it easy. Every client has challenge in lashes. I mean, some people might be really curly, some people might be really short. I think the hardest part is educating clients that have had work that's not favorable, talking them in, because they get used to a certain look, like say if they do strip lashes all the time, or really thick, or they get really thick lashes, is teaching them the right way that it's done so that it doesn't harm their lashes or their eyes. I think that's the hardest thing, and beating that stigma, because people, they come in all the time and say, well, I don't want it to look like this, like a caterpillar. No, that's not the correct way to do it, so just the educating. I find a lot of clients aren't educated in the process, you know, and I try to educate every single client that comes on my table. I tell them every little thing that I do so that they are aware of what to expect because we live in a military town, so a lot of people, you know, come and go, you know, so when they go and research another artist where they move, that they know what to ask for and what to expect, you know, and then just fighting off a lot of our products are made in not so reputable, like in China. I'm just going to say it, in China. So we can't, as manufacturers, go there and inspect how they're, you know, they make products, if they're sanitary, if they're using quality grade. And so, like, I follow EU standards, you know, because they're a lot stricter on lash artists, you know, on what products they can use and how they have to be educated. And Health Canada has, you know, in certain areas in Canada, they're really strict on the products you can use. So my products, you know, I try to make sure that they're the quality ingredients, and I don't buy them from Amazon or AliExpress or, you know, because you want to be accountable. So I stick to reputable lash distributors who have done their homework and to provide quality ingredients. So teaching clients that that's what they have to look out for. You know, I think that's the most difficult part.
Gotcha.
Okay.
What's some advice that you will give someone who wants to get into that same field?
Education. You know, make sure, first of all, you get your cosmetology or esthetician license, and then don't rely on YouTube for your education. Research a educator that is certified and trained to educate and from a reputable lash, you know, business. Somebody who uses quality products, you know, and not cheap. The problem with our industry is a lot of people have cheapened it, you know, trying to undercut somebody else because they, you know, they think it makes give them more clients. You just attract the, you know,
the wrong
clients.
ones,
Yeah, you attract them. And it's the tattoo industry as well. You know, people are looking for a cheap tattoo. Well, you get what you pay for, and it's the same with any industry.
Yeah.
You know, you get what you pay for.
I remember that video we did.
And it doesn't. I mean, I understand. You know, money is tight for some people, and everything has to be in your budget. But like, I offer other things that might fit into somebody's budget. You know, like segment lashes or you know, something not as permanent.
The one with the water bottle.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about that one time, and Miguel had an idea of making a like a funny video for social media, where I was the client coming in, and I had like a tattoo in mind, and I asked him, I was like, hey, how much will you charge me for this? And he would give me the price. I'm like, what? I got a friend that does it for half of that. And I had a bottle in my hand, and he's like, we'll go with your friend, and slapped the bottle.
Yeah, that's how I be feeling sometimes. Like,
yeah, because there are certain things that you should not compromise on cost, and especially if you want to find somebody that's educated in what they're doing, that has good reviews, that has that continues to get continuing education, you know, and somebody who values their industry, and it's not just to you know, make money. And so, like, you don't shop around for the cheapest plastic surgeon, you know, things like that, like tattoo artists, things that's permanently going to affect your body and your looks, you know.
but do they do that? Like,
Yes,
well, I'm
people
guessing
do that. Yeah, they
like
do
in
that.
your industry, I can see.
In
it
my industry, yeah, I've had people say, well, that's my lash artist only charged half of that. Well, first of all, why aren't you going to your lash artist if they, you know, there's a reason why you're not with them if you're looking for somebody else. And then second of all, my prices reflect years of education, quality of products, and, you know, and so that reflects in my pricing because I've spent so much money on education. Like I take at least 2-3 classes every year, regardless if I need it or not, you know. Only because everybody that I get education from offers something new to me, because the industry is always changing, it's always getting better. You know, there's always new techniques and new innovations out there, you know, as we learn in this, because lash industry is a fairly new beauty industry. You know, it's not been around like hair, you know. Lash extension, I mean, eye enhancement has always, I mean, it stems back to ancient Egypt. You know, we used to wear fake lashes in ancient Egypt. Yeah, it was yak animal hairs, or you know. So the ancient Egyptians originally invented eye enhancement, and then in the 1940s and 50s, I think in Europe is when they started doing the strips, eyelash strips, and things like that.
Okay.
So.
You said you have 13 years of experience. What's some advice that you would give yourself before, when you first got into?
When I first got
Yeah.
started, not to buy every single thing that because I have so much stuff because I always want to try new things.
Yeah.
So I have so much stock, so much different, you know, lashes. But I mean, that's how you learn what you
Right.
like, you know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know. If I did it any differently, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
I wouldn't be as successful as I am today. I wouldn't be as educated in my industry if I did it any different. I think you learn by, you know, doing something wrong and then realizing and then, you know, learning something the right way.
Yeah. That's how I am with my my camera lenses, because the lenses pop up. I don't think you noticed, but I had different ones.
No.
Well, yeah, because like I said, I learned about the different lenses and how each one is different. And it's like I buy one, but I don't like it, so I sell
Yeah.
it and then get another one. I think I like the ones that I have now, but I'm
If
still
I
looking at
sold
other
my
ones.
stuff, baby, but I don't ever sell it. It's just,
Yeah, I couldn't keep it. I was like, I'm not gonna use this lens. But yeah, I've been the same way. I've been kind of buying and then kind of getting rid of it if I don't like it.
yeah,
It's
if you
kinda-
don't, and so you're always trying something new to improve your craft,
Yeah.
you know, and so, but then if you didn't do it that way, then you wouldn't improve yourself, and that's how you improve yourself. You try new things, and if they're successful, I do an amazing amount of research on anything I do. Like, it takes me, like, I bought a polystock tank pool, and it took me a year to finally find the one I buy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just do a lot over research stuff, you know. So, and I still do that. So I'm always buying new things and
Yeah.
trying them, but that's how you find the best things for your business to make it
Yeah.
easy for
Yeah.
you, so that you can offer the best for your clients.
Right.
Because that's the ultimate goal, is, you know, doing the best work and providing the best for your clients.
Right. Yeah. I be staying up all night just doing research.
I know, I'm on the phone all the time looking at all different lash artists across the world and my mentors. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I've met my mentors at conferences, and I love all my, you know, my educators, you know, from Russia to Lithuania to Australia to Canada, you know, the UK. I'm fortunate that I got to meet them going to conferences, and that I expanded out of my first training to do more training. You know, my first training was really good, and, you know, it was with a reputable company, but I started going to conferences, and that's how you network and you meet. I don't know if you guys go to tattoo conferences, you guys, or
Yeah.
photography,
Yeah.
you know, and then Dina, you know, she takes you guys to gym things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's how you get better, through knowledge from other people. You know, because you can't put yourself in a bubble and expect to get better unless you expose yourself to your mentors and your peers. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so conferences, you know, if I were to advise a lash artist, it would be to go to conferences. That's so important. You know, LashCon in Anaheim. I'm going to go this year. You know, you're opening your world up to something that you might learn that would make things better for you. You know.
Yeah.
Like
More
that.
questions?
Oh, no. No, I was just thinking, because one thing that I have an issue with is how tattoo artists go to conventions where there's not enough, what is it called, competition,
Yes.
and they go and win. But like, if I go to a competition, if I go to a convention, I want to go where there's competition, because I don't want to be the best out of like this group. I want to be either the best out of that group or at least have a what is called a chance of winning something
Right.
with this other group. And that's what I feel like. What is it called? The competition.
Yeah.
Like people just need to have more of a drive.
More. Yeah. They get.
But see, art is subjective. You know, how do you? Because I mean, I watched. There was what was that tattoo thingy on the tattoo show that they had artists come in and compete against each other, the best tattoo artists or whatever.
Ink Masters? No.
I don't know if that was. I watched that a few times. It's pretty interesting.
Little things, and I'm pretty sure it's like you could relate. Like if you were to see somebody else's eyebrows and there's like an eyebrow missing, like little things like that. Okay, the shading didn't go all the way to the line.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah.
Things like that, and something not having as much dimension or depth as it should. Yes.
Oh, I can see what you're saying. Instead of like just an artistic view on it, there's more of a technical.
Yes, on that too. But then I'm pretty sure, like I said, there's those bad eyebrows that I seen, and then I saw Savannah's eyebrows.
Yes.
So if I was doing Savannah's quality work and I went to the competitions that was like the bad ones and I won all them awards, do they count? Like, no, I'm just with a whole bunch of.
But maybe you showed somebody else what they can achieve. You motivated somebody else, so you have to look at it that way.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a person just getting into it, and they saw what you can do, and you motivated them to get better.
I guess that's a good approach, because the way I see it is like, why am I going to those places? But yeah, I like your approach. I think that changed my perspective on.
Yeah, I mean, you're motivating somebody else to achieve to your level.
Okay.
You know, so it's good to go to
maybe the next time they'll be like right there because they got they got motivated, so they did their homework, and it was like and they were gonna
yeah, because it's part of the thing of like you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Like that's the way I see it too. But I guess selfishly, I don't want to go to those places. But yeah, I guess either I was open up to teaching somebody too.
Right. Yeah. You and then you might want to expand to speaking at those conferences and teaching somebody. You know, I've always wanted to do that. I'm not really good with speaking. Like this is a big stress for me. I'm an introvert. You know,
I'm doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, because it's comfortable. You make it like a conversation. So, because I've done speaking events before, and I'm like, you know, it's not easy to get up in front of a camera or live, because we do a lot of live stuff too. You know, or getting up in front of a crowd at a conference and speaking. You know, with people that look up to you. You know, so that's.
I think our first video was all over the place.
Yeah, learning little by little.
You know, but yeah, just look at it as you're motivating somebody else to get better. You know, but then also challenge yourself and go to the ones that are, you know, bigger conferences and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's my 3-year plan. My 2 years, I do the bigger ones. What is it, national? Like here in the U.S. and then 3 years be international.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into, international training, because the type of lashes I do, volume lashing, was invented in Russia, and they are the toughest competition in the industry. Their lashes are perfect. Like it looks like eyeliner. Like some of the styles that they have, it looks like it was painted on it. Every hair is in place, and I had a trainer out of Canada. She's actually Russian. She trains to compete, and she was training before it would happen before COVID. So I wanted to go to Moscow to do a conference and competition and travel. I guess that's still a goal for me, is to go to those countries that they're perfectionists. You know, with their lashes, like. Everyone is in place.
It says Russian eyelashes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Let me see. Yeah, see how it's perfect. But they also favor, like, they're very meticulous about the health of the lashes.
Yeah.
They don't do the crazy stuff like we do here in the States. There is no lashes up to here.
Okay.
I'm sure they have a couple of lash artists that try to, but they're very, very strict on their rules, you know. Like when you make a fan, it's like, say a 4D fan is like 4 individual pieces of lashes, like fibers. They have to be completely equal. So if you do 4D, it has to be 4 centimeters across. So it has to be perfect. Every lash has to be lashed. It has to be in layers so that when you're looking at it from the front and the back, the top layer is equal to the first layer.
Okay.
So there's no hair out of place. So it's like a perfect line, you know. And then they do crazy like lightning bolt type looks, and they have some beautiful styles.
Yeah, and I don't know how you're on time, but I could go talking about eyelashes for a minute. Because as an artist, I like drawing eyes.
Yes.
So I do study like natural eyelashes, and I guess I would have to study how this one's actually look like.
Oh, I don't have my phone. I was going to show you my
Yeah. And I know that whenever natural eyelashes, what it's called, well, whenever we draw natural eyelashes, it's like down, and you have like 3 or 4 strands. They curve down, then they go up, and then join together.
like anime.
No, it's natural. Like
So eyelashes, everybody's is different.
yes.
There are certain ethnicities that have common features with their eyelashes. Like Asian people, a lot of them have lashes that go downwards. Like they actually go downwards, and then they have monolids. So not all of Asians,
Yeah.
of course, but that's the majority. And so they don't have a lid, and so you have to use certain curls to. Like I have to use an L, what's called an L curl, and it looks like an L. It's like straight, and then it goes up, so that we enhance their eyes, so you can see the lashes. If not, you can't see the extension, so it's like pointless. And then some people have curly lashes. You know, a lot of people have damaged lashes. You know, but lashes, they come in all different. It's like I find Italians have very thick, beautiful long lashes, you know, just things like that. Different ethnicities have different trends to their lashes, and I don't know if it's because of region, like where their heritage, like Italians, why their lashes are like that, if it has to do with evolution and how they're affects the regions that they're in.
They might
Yeah.
be it, yeah. The sun's on this side, and
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have more lashes, like say in the Middle East, their lashes are nice and thick and long, and it might be because, they needed that for protection from the sun and dust and dirt and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
I think whenever I draw, I try to find the perfect one for me that's
Yes.
gonna capture my attention or get the what's called the emotion that I want to deliver.
Yeah.
I think that's what I try to focus on. I think, like I said, I just draw different ones, but yeah, I think the ones I gravitated more to were the ones that would start off with like 3 or 4 maybe, and they would just drop down and
come
up.
to a point. Yeah, when
Yeah.
I do styles like that, it's more anime-ish.
Okay.
They have, it's, if you look on comic books and manga, and they have, it's piecey, and they have the long spikes that come to a point, and then it's thicker, closer to the, I don't know, you have to look up anime
I don't
lashes.
watch anime, so I would have to look it up.
Oh, anime lashes, yeah, that's the newest trend now. Yeah.
everybody likes anime now.
I didn't even follow you on Instagram.
Speaking on that, we are running out of time, but
Okay.
let them know where they can find you as far as like your social media or how they can get in contact with you if anything.
I'm through Gloss Genius for my booking. It's I Envy Lash and Brows plural on Gloss Genius, and then I think it's I Envy Vixen is my. Oh, I don't have my phone
I
to
can bring you.
okay.
Do you have your Instagram?
For Instagram.
Oh no.
So Instagram is INV Lash and Brow. It's not plural. That's
Okay. And you can just follow it. Yep.
on Instagram. But it's INV Lash and Brows is the business, plural. And then Facebook is INV Lash and Brows as well. I think my personal one is INV Vixen.
And if you send me the links as well, whether in the text, I can put everything on the
Oh, okay.
description box on the
Oh,
YouTube
nice.
video.
Thanks. I appreciate
So it'll
that.
be on the description box.
And then most of my clients find me through Google, so
Google, okay.
under INV Lash and Brows.
All right. Now, tell me again, how do I say your name? The right way.
Donia, like Tanya with a D, or
Okay.
Donia.
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 Okay.
It means the
Donia.
world in Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Rod. Thanks
I
for
appreciate
inviting
you
me.
for giving us
It was
some
nice
of your
meeting
time.
you. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.